And then we would ask Mr. Thompson to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Shall we pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we call the roll?
Mrs. Butcher Conway. Mrs. Singer Ardley.
Here.
Mr. Lesby.
Here.
Mr. Showalter.
Here.
Mrs. Tingle Sames.
Here.
Mrs. Tackett.
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Thank you. We have a
Oh,
quorum.
Mr. Bradley.
Oh, here. You forgot about me. We couldn't do that,
Take it
Chuck.
personal.
We have a quorum and delighted to welcome everyone here tonight. We have an unusually large crowd tonight and one that we're extremely proud to welcome to Georgetown City Hall and the Georgetown City Council chambers. Tonight we have the opportunity to honor both the Scott County High School girls basketball team for the remarkable season that they have had this year, and also to honor the Scott County boys basketball team. I think the resolution makes reference to their epic season this year, and one that your community is very proud of. So your city council asked if we could invite both teams in and have the city council act on a proclamation honoring what you all have accomplished this year. And I think the way we'd like to do this, because there are so many people between the players and the people who have cared for you all season, both your parents and the administrators, we all can't fit in the room at one time. So I think what we'll do first is we'll ask the girls team to come in, and we will read their proclamation and ask for council action on that proclamation. And after we complete the girls team proclamation, we'll then switch everybody out, invite the boys team in for the proclamation that's been crafted for your accomplishments. And then we'd like to briefly adjourn the council meeting so we can all go outside together. The boys team, the girls team, all of your coaches, and the city council for a big group picture for anyone that would like to be in it. So that's what we see for the next few minutes of our agenda. With the council's permission, if we could proceed in that direction. Yep. So,
John's gonna bring
Arlene, is Renee ready to bring in the first group?
the kids.
Come right in, ladies. You are front and center.
Yeah, but they're quick. Let me tell you. Should we stand up, Mayor?
I think you all should please stand up
Taller
behind
than
me.
I am, it won't make no difference.
And what's going to be kind of fun, you all, we have the proclamation for both the girls team and the boys team framed, but also when we're finished, we have a copy of the resolution for the girls team. We have a copy for each one of the girls team members. So you have your own copy of this resolution. We have the same thing done for the boys team. So while these proclamations may hang in a trophy case or somewhere in the coaches' offices, each player can have their own copy of this proclamation as well. So we'll ask Ms. Tracy Hoffman, our city clerk, to read the proclamation.
Whereas the Scott County High School girls basketball team led by head coach Steve Helton had a fantastic season, winning the 42nd District and 11th Region tournaments and leading the state in scoring at 78.2 points per game. Whereas the Scott County High School girls basketball team ended its season with a record of 31-3, at one point setting a school record of 21 consecutive wins. Whereas head coach Steve Helton received numerous honors this year, including 11th Region Coach of the Year, KABC 11th Region Coach of the Year, and 2018 KABA Court of Honor inductee. Whereas the Scott County girls basketball team, consisting of team members Kiana Christopher, Lexi Hoffman, Zakiah Holt, Peyton Riddle, Zephaniah Gray, Emma Turner, Michaela Smith, Malia Owens, Juliet Smith, Morgan DeFore, Malaya Williams, Braylee McMath, Kennedy Tompkins, Haley Ward, Kaylee Wise, Brianna Penny, Reagan Barrett, Tyra Young, manager Sam Parks, and video coordinator Michaela Vardy displayed their fighting spirit. Now, therefore, let it be known that I, Tom Prather, Mayor of the City of Georgetown, and the Georgetown City Council do hereby recognize the Scott County Cardinal girls basketball coach, Steve Helton, and congratulate the Scott County girls basketball team on their successes this year. Dated this 26th day of March 2018.
Mr. Thompson, was that your motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm shocked
I
by
don't
that.
think
Coach,
so.
let me bring this proclamation out to you. I'll step over.
They're all good stuff. Yes, okay.
Everybody squeeze in.
Come on, girls. Squeeze it on up this way.
Act
Come
like
on.
you like each other, ladies.
Hug it like you love it. Short in the middle, short up front.
You going up front?
No.
Okay, let's make sure that you can see the camera, because if you can't see the camera, it can't see you. Thank you. You got it. Good.
Good job.
Yes, she is. She is. I don't.
Hey guys, first of all, we want to thank Mayor Prather for bringing us in here tonight. City Council, thank you all so much. An incredible group of young ladies. We've been blessed this season. Our parents, our coaches, you know, our entire program, our boys. We're very blessed in Scott County, and we're very appreciative of the opportunity to represent Georgetown and Scott County anytime we get a chance to. So from our program, thank you all so much for all your support, and you know, the 2019 season, it's close.
Right around the corner.
So we're on our way. Thank you all so much for having us here tonight.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you. Congratulations, girls. Good job.
Yeah, I know. Bruce.
Sit down now.
Yeah. Who, Bruce or Tim? Tim's I'm very proud of myself.
I'll get up on this table, Chuck. Don't you worry about me. I got this.
Gentlemen, would you all join us?
I got the lads.
Karen, you might stand.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Y'all had a great season.
Taller ones in back and shorter ones are present.
Not taller.
Come on in, Coach. Doing great. Doing great.
Hello. Congratulations.
Young man.
Congratulations.
Private spot?
Young man.
We'll get y'all's picture. You have to jam in a little bit.
Food in there.
right there. That's great.
You got that, Chuck.
Hey, they're covering me up. We'll come right here.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, Coach, if we're ready, we'll ask the clerk to read this proclamation.
Guys,
Thank you.
squeeze in.
Whereas the Scott County High School boys basketball team, led by Coach Billy Hicks, finished the season with a record of 37-2, a new school record, and whereas 42nd District and 11th Region champions, Toyota Classic champions, and Kentucky Indiana Challenge champions, the Cardinals set a new bar for high school sports, beating the school records of 29 straight games, 316 three-point shots, and 1,140 field goals. And whereas under the leadership of Coach Hicks, number 1 in the state and top 15 nationally in number of wins for a coach, 978, the Cardinals were ranked in the USA Today National Top 25 poll. We're number 1 in the state in margin of victory, 21.8 point average, and number 2 in the state in points per game, 77.7 point average, scored over 100 points in 4 games, and were runners-up in the state tournament. And whereas the Cardinals, consisting of team members Cam Fluker, Bryce Long, KJ Tucker, Michael McKenzie, Cooper Robb, Diablo Stewart, Taryn Hamilton, Glenn Covington, Aaron Leake, Landon Easley, Neil Baker, Michael Marino, Jamison Harris, Lorenzo Williams, Jalen Barber, and Kobe Harris, along with their assistants, managers, trainees, and stat keepers, have added to the team's rich history of success and 2 state championships, 4 runners-up, 3 Final Fours, and 16 regional championships. Therefore, let it be known that I, Tom Prather, Mayor of the City of Georgetown, and the Georgetown City Council do hereby recognize Scott County Cardinal basketball coach Billy Hicks and his dedicated staff, and do congratulate the Scott County boys basketball team on their epic season. Dated this 26th day of March 2018.
Epic season. Is there a motion for
Motion.
approval?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody dare say no?
Not now.
I didn't
That
know.
resolution passes, Coach. Let me come around and present you with
Just a second. You need to come out front, if you would, Coach, and, I'll tell you what.
Short enough, though.
I'm
taller than most of you guys.
Got me the boots. You switch places.
Hey, Tim, you might need to stick around a little bit.
He flips right back up there.
Okay, here's the thing. What I told the girls, if you can't see the camera can't see you. Okay? Okay, let me get that first. Yes, sir. Okay, can everybody see the camera? Just a second. One more.
Got a little quick
Okay.
flow going on there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Guys, what I'd like to really thank you all, Georgetown, the city council, and this town and this county. I've said it for 24 years now. The strength of Scott County, before I got here and long after I've been gone, is the support that it has with the adults in the community. And it starts with Georgetown City and with the county government, the county people. It's really we undoubtedly have better support in our community than any community in the state of Kentucky, year in and year out. Sometimes some will pop up and get support, but year in and year out, Scott County has more support than anywhere, any community around, and it starts with you all. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Field trip.
It's true. We have great support.
Congratulations. Just proud. Thank you.
Come on.
Congratulations.
I'm talking to you. Appreciate it. Every year, twice at least, right? I know. But it's beautiful.
Hopefully not.
Good job.
Think we are?
I've been doing this for.
Absolutely. 37 and 2. And that included the one loss was to Ohio. So a team in Ohio, like in Cincinnati, and the other one was the tournament loss. And that's it.
Thank you for bringing them in.
our
Yeah,
agenda
great.
for a few minutes. If we could go back to the order of our agenda, each of you have a copy of the minutes from our last regularly scheduled meeting of March the 13th. If you'd like to look those over for any possible corrections or additions.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. And if there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Each of you should have received in your packet a copy of our latest check register. If you could indicate if you received that register. Thank you. At the portion of our agenda for public comments, first person to have signed up is Mr. Todd Stone from Georgetown College.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Todd Stone. I'm the Assistant Director of Campus Safety at Georgetown College. Our graduation is coming up May 12th at 10 a.m. The weather cooperates, which anything's possible this year. We will be holding it on the lawn at Giddings as we normally do. If it rains, we'll take it inside at alumni, but if it's an outdoor ceremony, we were requesting to block College Street and Memorial Street for that morning, approximately 9 a.m. to 12. And I'm not sure if I went to 1 o'clock on one of the times. I did want
Yeah.
College Street.
9:30 to 1.
Once the ceremony ends, we would obviously open the streets back up and move the barricades. But I've already been in contact with the police department, and I will be getting in touch with Public Works for the barricades. So I just need your all's approval so we could close the street.
And the college has filled out all the paperwork.
Yeah. Make second, Mayor.
Motion made and seconded. If there are no questions for Todd, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You all have a good evening.
Appreciate your patience this evening.
Absolutely not a problem.
Yes, sir. Next on the list, Mr. Tom Combs.
And Mayor Prather and council members. My name again is Tom Combs. I'm with the Kiwanis Club of Scott County. And submit an application to you for the permission to allow us to again conduct the July 4th parade this year. This will involve changing College Street into one-way, as we've done the last few years to line up the parade participants, and then closing Main Street to enable the parade to pass through and preparations before and after. I think it's about 3 hours of closing Main Street. They will be planned to be held on July 4th. People have asked me about that. I said yes. July 4th parade.
That's the day.
Yeah, I
Good
did.
day. Good day for it.
But again, we're asking permission to go ahead do that again this year.
Motion's been made, seconded. If there are no questions for Tom, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your work on this, Tom.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Next on the list is Mr. Stephen Price.
Thank you, Mayor President. You all will take a look here at what I've got in my hand. Found a nice place to store them. I don't want to drag them over there. Got a shovel and a garden fork. And I'll come over here now and explain why I brought it. I stopped by the Napa Auto Parts store today on the way, well, actually earlier in the afternoon, to ask them if I could buy or borrow from them a standard auto part, which I'm sure each of you knows, which I know from my past. Since he didn't have one, I would say, well, I don't have time to go, I said to myself, I don't have to, before the council meeting, I don't have time to go to the junkyard to get one. So I'm going to ask you to visualize what I have in my hand, since I couldn't find one to bring.
Steering wheel.
It's not hard to figure out, right? It's a steering wheel. And public policy in Georgetown, especially since the mid-'80s, the late '80s, has promoted putting steering wheels in everybody's hands. And I think the time has come to question that policy and to consider putting what I just showed you, shovels and garden forks, into people's hands so that they become productive where they are, rather than having to drive to some location, some workplace, in order to be productive. And there's I went to the library Saturday. Couldn't believe what I read. Toyota suspends, here's the headline, Toyota suspends self-driving program. Self-driving cars. Does anybody know why Toyota would suspend that program?
No, sir, and I'm not sure what it has to do with city council's business, Steve. If you could bring it back, if you could bring it back to the council.
What it has to do is with the town council is whether or not the town council is going to allow Toyota or anybody else. There's also a big article in USA Today about testing. What they're doing is testing driverless trucks, talking about 18-wheel rigs, driverless. They're also testing passenger vehicles on public roads in various parts of the United States. And this news article right here says the city of Boston asked the company who's developing self-driving cars in Boston to stop testing cars on public streets. And the reason being, a pedestrian was killed last week by a self-driving car in a place called Tampa, New Mexico. And I'm here to, I've been here before. I've told you, I read to you last week, I've been going to court with complaints about the police department, the Georgetown Police Department, not enforcing traffic laws that we already have on the books. For instance, tinted windows. Kentucky law prohibits tinted windows beyond a certain point. And now there are cars all over the street. You can't tell whether anybody's even in the car. That's a serious violation. It's going to be a more serious violation if self-driving cars ever come along, which according to all these news articles, is not in the. It's very possible. So I'm here to ask you to consider the fact that a woman is dead because someone wanted to test a driver's car in New Mexico. And I'm going to ask you to consider an ordinance that would prohibit anybody testing self-driving vehicles on the streets of Georgetown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda for public comment is Mr. Stephen Wilson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I represent Olika Shrine in Lexington. We have the people of Georgetown have been generous, and you all in the past, allowing us to have what we call a roadblock. And I asked for that on the 14th of April, noon to 5, and we'd appreciate your permission to do so.
They've done this before, right, Mayor?
Is that by Walmart?
This is Cherry Blossom.
Yeah, Cherry Blossom.
Yeah,
Connector Road.
it's council's, it's always a council decision. We do have an ordinance that prohibits this
Right.
because
We're having
there's
people
some danger
sneaking in.
about getting out in intersections. So I do have to make council aware that ordinance exists.
I know, we were having an issue with it, Mayor, we were involved in passing that ordinance quite a while back. I guess
And
I would ask.
recently, about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, some group was
Right here.
very aggressively working this intersection and the one further up. They did not have council approval.
What was the date that was being requested?
Saturday.
what's so difficult is council loves the Shriners organization, and everything you stand for and everything you do for the children of this community and others. But just historically, they've had safety concerns about that. So that's the only hint of reluctance that you're seeing, is nothing at all to do with our support for the Shriners, but just a concern about our municipal liability and things of that like that.
And it makes it just a tad more difficult when you've already got an ordinance in place that prohibits that.
Yeah, because you're fighting the ordinance.
How long ago?
It's left over from a long time.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Decades.
We didn't do it. I think the fellow that was doing that, he went away, so I picked it up.
Lucky-
That's
lucky
been-
you.
It's been, yeah, one of those things. So it's been like a year and a half or something since we did it. Things have changed. They changed.
We actually, when we put the ordinance in place, we put it in place because, as the mayor was just saying earlier, we had some people that were very aggressive that didn't ask for permission in the middle of intersections and citizens complaining. But since then, we have let a couple of groups. We have let the firefighters
We do that
and
boot thing out there.
somebody else, it seems like we have let since then that we've given permission to do it. So,
Yeah, we know the Shriners have done it very
And we're not very aggressive.
You've done it very politely in the past. We're aware.
you all have your own insurance in case you get accidentally hit by a car.
A copy of your liability insurance.
I can get that to you.
So I'm not going to rail and say we shouldn't do this. I just wanted to point out to the council, and clearly we have the right to make that decision if we'd like to grant the Shriners.
Well, the organization is a great organization, and you know, you probably all support it whether you're somewhere or the other. I don't have a problem with it, but as you said, as long as you're not running into the cars and stuff like that, because we've seen that happen before. We had to, you know.
We're just trying to
Oh.
fix this act and pass.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay too with it.
I have a concern with the intersection. This is the busiest intersection in the city, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty busy one.
That's what I have a concern with.
Yeah. But would be happy to hear a motion in either direction, and again, support the work.
A question for Chief Bossy, and maybe a question for you as well on that. Is there anywhere with that intersection, is there guidelines where they can stand and not stand to not be a hazard?
A diagram in front of me to say everything. Wouldn't want to say without looking at a diagram.
Or maybe go to another intersection, it's I know less busy, less money, but another intersection that maybe is not as
Sorry, ma'am,
dangerous?
I don't know Georgetown. I wouldn't be able to guess. If you want to assign us one, we'll be happy to take it.
They used to stand on Broadway.
Broadway and Main Street, and
Yeah.
on Saturday, there's gonna be less traffic, so less dangerous than it would be out in front of Walmart, but
But slower traffic.
slower traffic,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot
Slower
slower.
traffic.
Yeah.
Well, that's a Saturday, and Walmart's busiest day of the week
That
is
is-
Yeah,
Saturday.
it is.
Okay.
That's your day you're gonna make it.
And I'm talking about how busy with people coming in and out of that place, you know, wanting to get in and out, so.
This would probably be safer.
Here.
You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
difference to me between just the general citizen and the firefighters are, you know, they're trained safety
Right.
officers, and there's, to me anyway, there's a little bit of difference. They've got, usually there's a vehicle there, a truck there, and, you know, people proceed with caution.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's something you want to support, and I do want to support, and obviously I know we all do. I'd feel better about it if it was on Broadway.
Well, let's make a motion to allow them to do it on Broadway. If that's all right with the council.
Does that set a standard that, you know, with other requests that,
Yeah,
I think
it's hard.
we just haven't gotten many requests like
Yeah.
that. People tend to, it's frequently the case with local government, people tend to ask forgiveness rather than promote.
yeah,
So they'll do it and say, oh, we didn't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have we ever had anybody use that intersection before?
They have been out there before.
Where, the Walmart? Oh, yeah. No, I mean, fire department's been out
Firefighters.
there. I think Shriners has been out there also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, they've been there before.
And that's actually a state road that doesn't require
Yeah.
our.
Right, it's state. We just gotta allow them to be in the city
But
to
if
do
you
it,
have
I'm
a city
assuming, right,
ordinance-
Andrew?
State road too.
Yeah.
everybody wants to say yes to these nice people, but there's a discomfort with
It's a safety issue.
Yeah,
with the fact that it's a safety issue. I think we love you enough, we don't want to get you hurt. And the council's just concerned about that activity.
But I'll make a motion, if they'll take the insurance, I'll make the motion to let them, if they bring proof of insurance, so let them try it. And if it's not successful, then for a safety standard, then we'll know. You all will be the guinea pigs that we'll know and watch, so.
You talking about on Broadway or?
No,
where
where
they're at.
Walmart.
So the original location.
They have the insurance. I'll make that motion. If anybody wants to second it, fine. If not, we'll go back to Broadway and try it.
I'll second it since we've allowed others to do that.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to grant the Shriners permission to work the intersection of
Cherry Blossom.
Cherry Blossom at the entrance to Walmart.
Do they have hours?
Yep,
12 to 5, they said.
11:45 to 5:30. 12 to 5.
Okay.
Any questions about the motion or a question for Mr. Wilson?
Just be careful. if
Be
it
very
passes.
careful, please.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Wilson, good luck.
We appreciate it. And spend your money wisely.
And you all please be very careful.
Please.
It's just a busy place.
It is so busy.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Just so everybody
Yeah, and I'll do that in my mayor comments. Now we move to mayor's comments portion of the agenda. And for those who have been here before, you'll know the city council chuckles about how lengthy the mayor's comments portion of the agenda can be. But at this point, I do want to take the opportunity. We have some Boy Scouts here with us in the audience and would like to specifically welcome them to the city council meeting and appreciate your being here to watch a real live civics lesson and hope that you learn something. And maybe one day you all will
Fill our seats.
be sitting up here making some of these decisions as well. But thank you all very much for being here. Also, the council had an opportunity before the meeting started to just shake hands with our new city engineer, Mr. Eddie Hightower. Eddie is on board, began his service with the city of Georgetown on the 19th of this month. So he's drinking from a fire hose, as we knew he would be for the first couple of weeks, and just coming up to speed. But Eddie has the kind of both educational and experience background that I think we need here in Georgetown. Eddie is graduated from Transylvania University with a degree in business management, then went to UK and became a civil engineer. So dual degrees there. He's registered as a PE in Kentucky, so we have a stamp. Eddie spent 5 years as a project engineer with Bell Engineers, 7 years as a project manager with Strand and Associates, 1 year as a partner project manager with Basler Consulting, and importantly to me, the last 7 years as an engineering supervisor with Winchester Municipal Utilities. So he understands a small city environment, and he understands the constraints that we have financially, but the needs that we have within our budget, and also the fact that this job has a lot of customer service and a lot of citizen interaction. So just delighted to have Eddie on board, and we will have much to work on.
I want to just thank you, Mayor, and
Step up.
Sure.
We're on TV, Eddie.
just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the opportunity. I'm really excited to get ready to get to work. Andrew's been great getting me up to speed with all the different projects, and I'm just really happy to be here. So thank you very much, and look forward to working with everybody.
Good.
Good job, Andrew.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how good he turns out.
There you go.
You're gonna do just fine.
Okay. Want to update the council that we requested proposals from the engineer that we selected to help us with Water Street. Everything from the parking questions to potential one-way scenarios. They brought us back a scope of work that was frankly too broad and too expensive. So we have had a follow-up meeting with them to let them know that I can't afford to pay their entire overhead for 6 months of their firm. I'd like something a little bit smaller and more reasonably scoped for what we want to accomplish down there. And they are redrawing their proposal and price and coming back to us. We don't need to fully redesign Water Street and plan for its specific future. We just right now want some tweaks to help us deal with the success issues that we're having on Water Street. So they understand now, I think, what our needs are, and they're working on coming back to us with that.
Mayor, I know you had some relationships at Kentucky Utilities. Have we gotten any traction with them in regards to maybe encroaching or an easement or something that might be helpful?
Hopefully more to report on that pretty soon.
Okay.
And that needs to be a part of the solution, particularly at one end of Water Street. And that can actually, with the right approvals, David, that can happen relatively quickly.
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Let's see. Also wanted to, council at the last meeting discussed in some detail Friday afternoon's parade of the stations. You know, we're doing a Good Friday event on the courthouse square at noon. And then later that afternoon, I believe at 5 o'clock, St. John's is doing they've tried for the last several Good Fridays to do it, and they've always been rained out. Subject to rain, they would like to do a parade of the stations from Courthouse Square up to St. John's Church. They filled out all their paperwork, but what we've determined internally will be the easiest way to handle their request, since it's only for about an hour, this parade down the street, is to handle it much like we do the Martin Luther King walk, where we don't completely shut traffic off, but we restrict traffic for a period of time. And we think we can do this internally with Public Works helping us with barricades and the police department helping us with the routes.
Good.
So I just wanted to make sure the council was aware that we're moving forward with that, even though that plan is a little bit different than what they have on the documentation they turned in. We made this change because we thought it would be easier internally for us to say grace over. Also wanted to let the council know that we had a visitor in City Hall late last week that a young lady from the Transportation Cabinet that I had actually been intending to go down there and visit. She came to Georgetown and visited. The big takeaways are there is a discretionary grant pool that they believe that we are eligible for that can help us with up to $500,000 toward the cost of the road in Lanes Run Business Park. And if we can achieve that $500,000 grant, then that lowers the cost of that project from $7.5 million to $7 million.
That's
So
awesome.
clearly in our interest to do that. We also ask if we could, at this time, go ahead and pursue additional TAP grants or CMAQ grants. And they said that we were not prohibited from submitting applications now, but the fact that we didn't have either project fully started and out of the gate, they wouldn't score well enough for consideration. They do think, and they reaffirm for us, that as soon as we can get the engineering done for each of those projects, then we can submit an application for phase 2 on them.
Good.
and be ready to do it. Later in your agenda, you'll notice that we have a municipal engineer for approving the engineer for the Cardinal Drive project. So that is beginning to happen now, and as soon as we get it far enough, we'll make another application.
Cool.
But we'll be getting with the judge and then bringing you back approval of an application for this $500,000 grant.
Mayor, would Lexus Way be, is it too preliminary on Lexus Way to have those discussions, or?
No. In fact, David, what appears to get traction with proposals that are taken to Transportation Cabinet now are if the local government has some skin in the game, you know, they grow weary of just people having their hand out and wanting everything funded. But places like Georgetown, where we work with the county and we come with solutions that already have us putting funds into the game. And then the second thing they look for that the governor's emphasized is being able to calculate a return on investment for the road that's put in. And in each of the cases we're talking about, we can prove local skin in the game, and we can prove a huge return on investment. So we can present these proposals in exactly the language that they've indicated that they want to talk about.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Let's see, we've already done the proclamations.
And Mayor, thank you for doing that. I think they enjoyed it tremendously, I believe. So very proud of the boys and girls.
Yeah, good stuff. Item B under Mayor's comments is an executive order appointing Johnny Griffin to the Board of Ethics.
Can I make a motion for that, Mayor?
Please do.
Johnny's a class act.
Yes.
Served well on the council, served 2 terms on the water board.
Yep.
And was very receptive to doing this. So,
Good. I'd like it to happen.
Wow.
so that's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? That passes. Also, item C on your agenda is an executive order appointing Rhett Shirley to the Georgetown Board of Adjustments.
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
And seconded. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'm really excited about both of those appointments. Also want the council to know that I've extended an invitation to someone to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they have said yes, but they've asked me for an opportunity to sit down before I actually made the appointment. They just wanted to have a conversation. We couldn't get it scheduled over the weekend or today, so I told him we'd wait 2 weeks. So,
Smart on their part.
but at least
We know what's in the pie.
we know what's coming on that one. Let's see, item 7 on the agenda. Boy, Bob's already blowing us off here. So, Sean, are you going to carry this load tonight?
Bob wasn't able to be here tonight. I'm Sean Darrington, Georgetown Water and Sewer. I have Alan Maples with me. We'd like to request the approval of a purchase order to Lovo Incorporated for the amount of $13,310. It's for a SCADA monitoring and controls integration at the water treatment plant, the sodium hypochlorite building. That expense will come out of the bulk bleach building project line item within our budget.
Motion, Mayor.
Got a first and a second.
We got a motion and a second.
Who was it?
The-
Marvin and Karen.
The 2 T's.
2 T's.
2 T's.
And if there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, I remember, Sean, years ago when we had to make the switch from
Chlorine gas,
chlorites to chlorides,
chloramines. and-
chloramines.
But the biggest change was getting rid of the chlorine gas, which we did maybe 8 years ago to take away that danger. We originally switched to a MIOX process where we generated our own bleach through electricity and salt and all those sorts of things. We found out that equipment was very costly to maintain and the expense of the electricity and all that. So we switched over to the bulk bleach. So we just have bleach delivered, stored in big tanks, and then we pump it out as we need it. So this project will allow us to do that from within the water plant instead of walking out, and we can, set alarms, we can monitor tank levels, all those sorts of things just remotely. So.
Sounds good. We have a motion and a second. Did we vote?
I thought we did. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I was asking a question after the vote. Okay, so thank you. Anything else?
It's too late, Tom. It's done.
It's late. It's not even that late.
It's just Monday.
Let's see. Under item 8 on your agenda, under city attorney, we have a municipal order approving an amendment to the contract with HDR for the business park project design. This is that final tuning as this project really comes together with some of the final design changes that we have to have for actually bid the projects. Tracy's got a municipal order, and keep in mind that as we go forward, all these expenses will be shared with the county government.
An order approving amendment number 2 to the contract with HDR Engineering for design, procurement, and project management services of infrastructure improvements at the Lanes Run Business Park, and authorizing the mayor to sign all relevant documents. Whereas the city of Georgetown contracted with HDR Engineering for design, procurement, and project management services of infrastructure improvements at the Lanes Run Business Park, and whereas the original contract amount was $354,000 and amendment number 1 was $9,000, and whereas HDR has identified $72,500 of additional necessary work not included in the original scope of work as outlined in the attached amendment. Whereas the city has already budgeted sufficient funds to cover the increase in the current fiscal year, now therefore it is hereby ordered by the Georgetown City Council that the attached amendment to the contract with HDR Engineering in the amount of $72,500 is hereby approved, and that the mayor is authorized to sign all relevant documents.
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, what's the increase for? What particular reason they needed the increase?
It's primarily cleanup. It's housekeeping. What we discovered was the entire business park needs to be resurveyed because there are errors in all of the original. It was never really platted as a whole, so they've got to fix those little minor discrepancies. They've got to do a bunch of easement work to get rights of ways for lines that will be coming in as part of the new project that they didn't anticipate. And I can't remember the third one. Yeah. Topographic survey. So primarily the largest part of it is that boundary survey, which is a whole encompassing the entire business park.
Why did we not include that the first time around?
I think it's items they weren't aware of. They didn't know that there were those substantial boundary issues. And there's always, when it comes to things like utility easements and where things can flow and lay of the land, there's always going to have to be little minor adjustments at the last minute. It is worth noting that they came back with a much higher cost, and I simply asked them, that's too much. We reduced that by 1/3, and they did. So it's a reduction in what they originally asked.
That always makes me nervous, just because so many always see the city as an endless pool, and once you're into the project, they kind of hang you out there and say, well, we've got to finish it, and then they come back and they ask for the extra. Okay.
The total that they're asking for is $72,000, right?
On top
On
of
top of the contract.
on top of the 300.
Right.
It's about on $400,000 now.
Mhm.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
No. 2. I believe that was Ms. Sames and Mr. Bradley. So that motion carries. Item B on your agenda is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County for the provision of 911 dispatch services. This is the interlocal that we mentioned to you had not completed the process at the same time all the others had completed their process. So we copied the same structure, order of the interlocal, and with the way the content, the way they behave, mirrors the others. We thought it important to touch base on this one because we have bids out and we're expecting to receive bids from the various vendors on our 911 radio system. The county, Scott County Fiscal Court approved each of these interlocal agreements at their last fiscal court meeting, and these are the ones that the city-county interlocal committee recommended to the court and the council. I believe they passed unanimously across the street. So if you'd like to read the first resolution.
Resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County for the provision of 911 dispatch service and authorizing the mayor to sign all relevant documents. Whereas the City of Georgetown has considered an interlocal agreement amending and restating an agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County for operation and funding of 911 dispatch service, and whereas the city wishes to approve the agreement and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement, and whereas KRS 65.240 requires the authorization to be memorialized by ordinance or resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by the Georgetown City Council, Section 1, that the interlocal agreement amending and restating an agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County for operation and funding of 911 dispatch service is hereby approved in substantially the same form as the attached agreement. 2, that the mayor is authorized to execute the interlocal agreement and any relevant documents on behalf of the city. Dated this 26th day of March 2018.
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion's been made to approve that interlocal agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Be glad to entertain any questions or have the council members that were on the interlocal committee answer those questions.
We've been operating as if we had one, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
In place.
Yeah. Would codify, would that be the appropriate word, Andrew, or is that not really related to this?
Well, there is an older 911 agreement that we've been operating under. It just was never properly,
Wasn't updated.
well,
Approved.
it never went through the right steps for approval.
Yeah, we found that kind of mess on all the others. They either hadn't been completely approved by both legislative bodies or they hadn't been sent to the Secretary of State's office.
DOT,
So this will give us an opportunity to clean that up. Let's see, this is a resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. One no vote.
And I would like to explain it. I didn't vote no because I don't think the system's needed. I voted no because of the division of the cost of the project. I presented it before that the county was gaining so much on this that 4 of the 6 towers are in the county, most of the square miles of coverage is in the county, and they should have shared in the cost proportionately to the cost of providing the whole program.
Thank you. Item C on your agenda is a resolution approving a new interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County for sharing the cost of expansion of the Lanes Run Business Park. And you'll also recall that in this interlocal, we very specifically address how lot sale revenues would be allocated. And just to refresh everybody's memory, since Phase 1, the city did all on their own, lot sales from Phase 1, as we go forward, will go toward paying our $480,000 worth of remaining debt. Once we pay off that debt, revenue and all of Phase 2 revenue will go into the Building Park Fund to prepare us for future expansion and infrastructure. So, would you like to read the resolution?
A resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County for sharing of costs for the expansion of the Lanes Run Business Park, providing for allocation of lot sales revenues, and authorizing the mayor to sign all relevant documents. Whereas the City of Georgetown has considered an interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County, providing for sharing of costs for the expansion of the Lanes Run Business Park and for allocation of lot sales revenues, and whereas the city wishes to approve the agreement and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement, and whereas KRS 65.240 requires the authorization to be memorialized by ordinance or resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by the Georgetown City Council, Section 1, the interlocal agreement between the City of Georgetown and Scott County providing for sharing of costs for the expansion of the Lanes Run Business Park and for allocation of lot sales revenues is hereby approved in substantially the same form as the attached agreement. Section 2, that the mayor is authorized to execute the interlocal agreement and any relevant documents on behalf of the city, dated this 26th day of 2018, March 2018.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll gladly make a motion for approval.
My second.
Motion's been made and seconded. This one's fairly complicated, even though we've been through it several times. Be happy to take any questions that there might be. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I just needed to keep going through the agenda. I went from 5 to 2 to 6 to 1 to 7-0. So that's how
Your record's getting better.
I'm getting, it's getting better every
Most
time.
improved.
Yeah.
Follow the light, Tom.
Okay. Well, we have a special section of the agenda tonight for Mr. Eddie Hightower.
And he left us.
And he left. He didn't know that he was on the agenda here. The Traffic Committee apparently heard a recommendation or made a recommendation that council consider making Cooper Alley one-way going in, just the length of the building. Because it's one lane. And there's been some incidents where people were trying to come out and it doesn't work.
So from Broadway west, headed west?
Broadway headed west would be one way, David, only for the length of the building. Then the rest of Cooper Alley is two-way, because you can come and go to Water Street.
Okay,
But you just shouldn't come out beside the building and meet traffic coming
that
in.
makes sense. Are the property owners aware that we're discussing this and going to vote on this?
I don't know.
I wasn't there. I was in Florida.
You were in Florida.
Sure.
You know, we've done things that made sense in the past, but
We didn't
sometimes
let
we
them know.
catch some flack if we don't communicate with them and say, hey, this is something we're looking at doing. I
And
support
I'm
the
happy-
effort, and yeah,
I'm happy to put it off to the next meeting,
I think that would be,
I do too.
Contact
Wise
the property owners,
We
yeah.
need to talk to them.
yeah.
because I'm not specifically aware that happened.
I'm not remembering who brought it to the traffic committee. I don't know if it was Tim or a police officer, somebody brought it, or was the mayor's office? Did you guys bring it to, no? And we all talked about it, and it was unanimous vote to recommend it.
We can get an
And-
answer to that question pretty easy.
And we can come back in 2 weeks with
No
it as well.
urgency. I just think it's a good thing to do.
It's been that way for quite some time. Another
Maybe
2
100
weeks.
years.
The next 2 weeks probably, as soon as I say that, there'll be some horrid accident there.
But you know how traffic is down around Water Street now.
Yeah,
Yes.
Galvin's.
Yeah, well, all of it.
Okay, the other item under city engineer is to, a municipal order approving the engineer for the Cardinal Drive project. The State Transportation Cabinet now has a program where you can let them select your engineer, and from their pre-approved list, and we thought it might save time if we actually went through their process and let them assign one of their pre-qualified engineers. we're finally ready to bring this to you. I'm not sure if it saved us any time, but the state has negotiated with Integrated Engineering and that municipal order. Go ahead.
An order approving an agreement with Integrated Engineering, PLLC, and authorizing the mayor to sign all relevant documents. Whereas the city of Georgetown was awarded a congestion mitigation and air quality, CMAQ, grant for improvements to Cardinal Drive, and whereas the city of Georgetown elected to contract with a firm assigned by the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, as this project qualified for this alternative in lieu of following standard procurement procedures. And whereas the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has assigned Integrated Engineering, PLLC, as the design engineer for this project and has approved the attached scope of work and contract for services in the amount of $186,498. Now therefore it is hereby ordered by the Georgetown City Council that the contract between the City of Georgetown and Integrated Engineering, PLC, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, is approved, and the mayor is authorized to sign all relevant documents.
Motion.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
As we continue to move forward with the improvements that are going to ultimately be made on Cardinal, what's the time frame again on, the tentative time frame on when we're expecting that as we move forward to be completed?
Yeah, and Mark, I'm answering that from a point of view where I thought this engineer would have been hired and on board well before now.
Okay.
Even though we took what was supposed to be the accelerated process, it's taken a long time to get us this far.
Next year.
I'm not sure how long this $186,000 worth of design work will take. I would assume we can begin construction this summer.
It would be nice while they're out of school.
That's going to be my expectation, Mark, but we've been disappointed by things Frankfurt before.
Through that.
Did we vote on that?
No.
But we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. For all you scouts in the audience, you need somebody really good to help you through a meeting. Is what you need. Item 10 on your agenda under finance is just some surplus items. I think it's mainly cars.
2 cars.
3 cars?
Mm-hmm. Oh, was it 3?
2 cars?
2
3 cars.
1 to Sadieville.
Yeah, we're going to give 1 to Sadieville, and the other 2 Enterprise will get rid of us for us as our agreement goes.
Make a motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Let's see here. Are we at the end of this agenda?
That's it, Mayor.
Well,
I got 10 items here. Mayor.
Okay. I won't
Karen
count.
can make it a little longer for you.
Yeah. Why don't we now go to council comments, and we'll start with Ms. Eardley.
nothing.
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 Mayor, I know we've talked to Corky Withrow in regards to Lexus Way,
Yes.
and I know he's called me, and I know he's very receptive and willing to participate. But what about the folks at the far end of where it's being proposed to come out onto Old Oxford? Have we had any communication there?
David, I've had conversations with the Sacon family, and I think a long strip of property along there may be owned by the Sacon children.
Yeah.
And they're willing to donate some right away based on a design that they would like to see.
Yeah.
And frankly, our engineers haven't actually done that design yet.
Okay.
So I've seen other people's opinion of where the road should go to facilitate the use of some properties.
Yeah.
But I haven't had that same conversation with our own engineers yet. So, there's a house in
Yeah.
5 acres.
And I don't know who that is. I really don't.
And we're beginning to have those conversations, but I haven't gotten that far down on the ownership list yet.
Okay. There was something else. Honestly, I can't recall what it was, so I'm gonna pass. And if I can
We'll
think
come
of
back
Come
to
back
it.
later.
Think about it.
Actually, I would like to pipe in.
She thought of something.
I did. No, I just wanted to give a shout out to Chief Bossy and Chief Ward, because I know last week was a very difficult week with the train accident and the shooting. So I just wanted to give you all a shout out and just appreciate your work.
Good job.
Because I
as
know
usual.
it is very intense, so just wanted to thank you all. Keeping us safe.
Good catch, thank you.
Yeah.
I had to tell the chiefs that they really shouldn't call me so much in the middle of the night. I appreciate them, but I was getting tired of hearing from them in the middle of the
Put
night.
ours against anyone in the state.
Yeah,
Our-
it's-
Both of them. Our whole departments that we
Exactly.
got, I think, personally.
It's not, it's
Tough.
a new day.
Yes. Good guys.
Karen?
I have one, a citizen said that she wanted me to make sure that I told the council, the mayor, and the chief that she saw a police car that had expired tags on it in front of her, and if it had been her, they would have pulled her over, and she wanted to pull them over, so.
Take her.
No.
I heard it was a Chiefs car. That's what I heard.
That is funny.
So she thought what was fair for her should be fair for the police department. I said, I will pass it on.
That's cold. That's cold.
Homer Powell said it best, didn't he? Citizens arrest. Citizens arrest.
And that's all I've got.
Oh, my
That's the
God.
best one so far this year.
I don't even know if I could follow that.
Well, try.
I just wanted to maybe follow up on the Derby, see how we are on that. You can just give me a call about it.
I will.
Okay.
We have an engineer now.
I know. I know. Excuse me, I'm looking forward to working with him. I really am.
I think
Very likely.
the council and our citizens will find Eddie a little more approachable, and the personality will be a better match than perhaps before, which is important for our citizens.
And that's all I have.
Okay, Chuck?
A couple things. One of our planning and zoning commission members came and talked to me, Mark Solsky.
Mhm.
And they had an issue over on the Sims property, is that right? On Oxford?
Sims in,
I
I'm
think
not
you
sure.
mentioned the Sims property. It's a development over back behind Lowe's on,
Okay.
anyway, there was a tree preservation area that was designated inside the property, and the property owner went in and cut them all down. And they're gonna make them replant, I think, the trees 3-to-1. But he called Dusty about it, and we have an ordinance against it, but there's no fine. So he wanted me to bring it up in front of council to see if we could,
Put some teeth in it.
yeah, because there's really, they could stop him from, developing any further until he did the planting, but he said they took out trees that were 2 feet in diameter,
Wow.
and it took out about 30 trees, I think. He wasn't real happy about that.
Yeah, that should carry a penalty.
Yeah,
Should, but it doesn't.
so that's sort of an Andrew thing.
I'll look into that. I talked to Mark myself. He came in and he was
Okay.
not very happy about it.
The other thing he brought to me was that they were unaware of our new code ordinance about people operating in the city that owed back taxes. So he took that ordinance and gave it to Joe and said, look, this is the city's ordinance. 'Cause there's people that are actually active in planning and zoning, getting permits and developing that owe a lot of back taxes.
I think, in fairness, the staff of the planning commission has known about it. I think the board may not have known necessarily about it.
Joe didn't know about it.
Joe and I have been working together on administrative whole stuff
Okay, well, he
for a
gave the
while.
impression to Mark that they didn't know about it. But it's something that, we've got this ordinance that's gonna keep people from owing back taxes. We need to make sure that all the different agencies are aware of it and enforce it.
Absolutely, Chuck, and ultimately, The way we do that is by getting everybody signed on and using the city work software that we're getting our departments to adopt right now and actually use in their day-to-day stuff. Then we're encouraging some of the interlocal agencies to start using it more. When we knit together that CityWorks platform completely, those administrative holds will be automatic. And we'll have electronic, we'll have some of these safeguards. But your point's exactly correct.
That's all I have.
Okay. Mark,
I'm good.
anything else to come before the council? If not, then we will stand adjourned. Thank you all.
7:18, somebody write that down.